Every morning the world starts quietly, one soft light at a time. Homes flicker awake, shops open. People take those first small steps into a brand new day. And in all of that ordinary movement, there's something kind of extraordinary. A moment worth noticing, a spark you feel before you even name it. Sometimes it's quiet, sometimes it's small, but kindness shows up right on time. And every morning we choose to show up with you so we can look for that spark together.
Good morning. I'm Matt Roof, the Uncommon Kindness Guy, and this is Kindness Rising. Let's rise together.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone. I'm Matt Roof. This is Kindness Rising, and today we're sitting with something a little bit heavy, but very human. Recent enforcement actions, the shootings in Minneapolis, have left 2 people dead. Protests in the streets and questions about power, accountability, compassion, and the kind of country we want to be. I want to hold this, though, with curiosity instead of outrage, with dignity instead of dehumanization, and wisdom instead of noise. This is Kindness Rising. Thank you for joining me here, just like we do every day, every weekday, 7:30 a.m. Eastern. Whether it's snowing out or sunny, we show up. And we also don't avoid the difficult conversations. We don't get political. I don't need to necessarily get outraged and share my views for whatever side that is, to use outrage as a way to share my views. Or rather, I'm choosing to lean into my purpose, my kindness, coming here every day to have conversation with you all, including Roseanne Roof, my mother. Good morning, mother. Adam Holroyd. Holroyd, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. You have no idea, dude. For those that are there, Holroyd made a purchase on the merch site. On the merch site. First non-family member public purchase on the merch site. That says to me that there's an impact happening here. Adam, I know the way you have supported Keith over at Mornings in the Lab Network too, and just want to say a genuine thank you to you and everyone else that comes out. You don't have to buy merch to support, but it is appreciated, and it's just a validation, and I really appreciate it, like beyond what I can express to you. Adam, thank you so much. All right, cool. So here's what I want to do. I do want to talk about the Minneapolis situation. I want to talk about how we can put our humanity before the headlines, that we can take a pause maybe for a moment in this what's just been an unbelievable, hard to wrap my head around it personally, week. It's been hard. It's been hard for all of us, I'm sure, in our own ways, watching what's going on, and you can't avoid it. I tried for several days, just like, I'm not going to look. I don't want to talk about it. But then I realized I'm not doing myself a service by doing that, sticking my head in the sand. That's not kindness. Alex Pretti, the nurse that was killed over the weekend, Renée Good, who died in her car at the hands of ICE. Their deaths, they're not abstractions. These are human beings, people who matter to the people in their lives, the people who they cared for, them, that loved them, U.S. citizens, regardless of what we think of our border policies, our immigration policies. These people expressing the rights that we have in this country that we don't have other places, that are trying to be taken away from us in certain ways, right? First Amendment rights, Second Amendment rights, for God's sakes, with Alex Pretti. But That's not why I'm here, because I can get worked up really quick. I'm trying to remember that they are people. I'm also trying to remember, I'm going to talk about this in a little bit too, that those guys behind the masks, the ones wearing paramilitary gear and carrying guns and have been given certain licenses that hadn't existed before, those are humans too. Those are humans too. And I'd like to explore it from the idea of, well, yeah, I'm angry. I'm angry. I'm hurt. I'm disappointed. I'm confused about what's going on in the world based on, what we grew up with. But I also am recognizing that there's humanity on both sides. Ron Ben Harash, welcome. Ronnie, popcorn yellow striped smile. I have no idea what that means, but I am glad you're here. Thanks for waving kitties and all kinds of stuff. All right. Holroyd, thank you. I know you're just looking to give back. Ronnie Ben Harash apparently is looking to give back with just emoji spamming, but I hope you're having some fun to tell us what's going on. Thank you everyone for coming in. We are going to continue our conversation about Minneapolis and situations going on in our world right now, right? So I don't want to get heavy. I don't want to get heavy, but I do want to talk about what's going on. What happens when transparency is withheld and when we are asked not to believe with our own eyes, truth being obfuscated with the removal of context and twisted into a message that serves with fear, and fear becomes our dominating operating system. And what happens when that happens to our bodies? Individually, we go into the fear, run, hide, fight or flight, freeze, whatever you want in terms you want to use. We tend to talk about that individually, right? But we don't talk about what's happening to us collectively, interactively, our relationships, what happens when the system starts moving into that mode. Right? I know what the mode is. You guys know what the mode is when you go into fight, flight, or freeze mode, and that adrenaline, that cortisol kicks in, right? That's what's happening in our society. And we can talk about why there's this fear. We can talk about fear on both sides, right? That's where it all stems from. So we're in a pressure cooker of fear. The adrenaline, the cortisol is kicking down the highways, across the country, across the world. And what's happening? Our communities, our togetherness, our families are going into fight, flight, or freeze mode. My hypothesis, my hope, my purpose is that kindness can be an antidote to that, at least temporarily, for a half an hour in the morning. Can we do that? Can we take time together as a people to have conversation, to take a breath? No, we're having trouble with that right now. But remember, kindness, it doesn't ask us to avoid the complexity. It doesn't ask us to remove all boundaries, to just say, well, anything can happen, fine, whatever, right? It doesn't ask us to avoid or ignore or put our head in the sand, which is the direction I tend to go personally, right? In certain ways, right? It doesn't ask us to fight fire with fire, right? It doesn't ask us to turn the other cheek every time either. It just asks us to hold humanity first. Kindness asks us to hold humanity first. Can we do that? Can we recognize that we are all more alike than we are different, that we're all made up from the same stuff, and that we all, every single one of us, has the same prognosis? We're all terminal cases. So, how can we help each other in the meantime? How can we lift each other up rather than drag each other down? How can we ask each other's questions, recognize each other's humanity, and remember that the root of kindness is kind, meaning you and I are the same, and I see something in you that I know is in me as well. That's where it starts. And then maybe we can build a place where we don't have to live in fear and we can grow and we can prosper together. So that's my high horse conversation about what's going on. What's going on in the chat? Who asked what? Absolutely. Sully, Robert Reich, one of my faves. One of my faves. I've talked about him here. This is no longer about Republican or Democrat. It really isn't. It really isn't. The Republican Party doesn't exist as it had historically. It's changed. The Democratic Party doesn't exist as it had. Let's just remove that construct for just a second and think about it. It's no longer about Republican or Democrat. It maybe never was. It maybe never was. But I'm thinking about I know he's a controversial character in and of himself, but as I was thinking about things, I always like to expose myself to all sides so I can understand it and figure out where I sit on these things. Bernie, feel the burn. Bernie Sanders. And I think it was 10 years ago at this point, but I just remember it. I just remember Bernie Sanders when this when Trump started to, I shouldn't say his name, but I did say his name. When Donald Trump started to rise and get attention, realistic attention about running for the president of the United States in 2013, 14, whatever it was, Bernie was out there spreading this message, remembering that the whole system is corrupt. When we talk about politics, it all starts with billionaires and money on both sides. And whether you're talking about the Republicans or the Democrats, they're all protecting that money and special interest. There's a special interest for everything. So if you take one position, another special interest is going to pop in and find a candidate to try to override what you say. I mean, the system, we're operating in a system, we know this, or I know this, that we're operating in a system that is just built to fail in some ways. And we have to work to change that system. But the change that's happening in the system right now, the system's changing. There's no question about it. It's changing. Is that the direction that we want it to change in? That's the question I keep asking. And are we taking it serious enough that people sit around and go, it's going to happen, blah, blah, blah. This is one thing I know. This is I don't know what you're saying, Ronnie. I appreciate that you like the kindness. I-10, that's a bit old. I don't know what that means. Good morning, Spartacus. Welcome in. Welcome. We are talking about the situation that's been happening in Minneapolis, the ICE situation. We're talking about it with our kindness lens on it, asking ourselves, that we hold humanity first and we think about how these things are impacting us, and remembering, taking a moment to remember that we are all terminal cases. And so why don't we spend our time trying to figure out how to make each other's lives better and help each other and reach out with kindness and recognition that we are all more the same than we are different. That is what I'm trying to just keep hammering home, right? And the only way that we can ever reach an understanding, bring the temperature down, is by everyone demanding that we do that, right? That we consider other people as we move forward. We bring the temperature down. Absolutely. Andrew Collier, welcome. How's my day going? My day's just getting started. I started with a ton. I think we're up to 18, 17, something like that on the official meter of snow. Spent the day yesterday going out every few inches and removing. I hate removing it when it's piled up the way it does. So every few hours went out and cleared it. But I'm not looking forward, to getting out there, the snow, the plow wash, covering our driveway and all that stuff. It's been an interesting time, but we had a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun yesterday being cozy in our house. Don't want to do it for too long, but we did some cooking, of course, and made an amazing new recipe. Sometimes we like to talk about recipes. My kid and I, we looked at recipes and we're like, oh, let's try that. It was called, it wasn't, I don't know what it was called, gingery pork meatball soup or something like that. It was basically an Asian inspired ground pork with ginger and garlic and snow peas and over rice. It was nice and warm. It was great. We enjoyed that. I enjoyed that, especially when I came in from shoveling and being outside and doing our thing. But we had a nice day, just being all in together and safe, which is cool sometimes too. Absolutely. Fortunately or unfortunately, it did give me a lot of time to think about the experiences that our country is going through. And I want to talk about this a little bit, which is something that's underneath. It's underneath it all, right? It's fear that's underneath it all. And I want to make it clear that I am angry about what's going on in the world. And I do feel anger, and I'm repulsed by the actions and the justifications and our drift towards this authoritarian style of power. I want to make sure that I'm clear that that's not what I'm looking for. But I also just want to sit for a minute and recognize that along with that anger, for us, is it's sorrow. It's sorrow. It's sadness. It's a little bit of pity for the people who have experienced such pain in their lives that they think this is a justifiable reaction for humanity, right? These are people, I believe, that have spent their lives in constant threat pressure. We know it's true. We know it's true from biography of the gentleman who we elected as the leader of our world. We know that he experienced deep family trauma with his family. It's known. How can it not have an impact? And that's what I believe we're dealing with. We're dealing with this is a reaction to the breakdown of things in our family over years, society. We can get deep and get intellectual about why it happens societally, right? That there are so many. It's men. It's men who feel th- that feel so threatened that their lives are just in complete threat mode all the time. That didn't start with the immigration policy, Joe Biden or Obama. These men, these people who are putting on this gear and going out into the street and doing this job. They're doing it legitimately. I mean, we allowed it to happen, but I just feel terrible for those people. Yep. Goganzuela, yeah, yeah. There are definitely reactions in that way too. The difference between my point of view and yours right now, though, is that I'm not using it as judgment. I'm not using it as judgment. There seems to be some in your comments. I'm saying let's recognize the impact, the impact of the traumas of the society that we have built on these people, on all of us, regardless, regardless. Let's use our brains, let's use our hearts a little bit and recognize that a lot of people out there that are hurting need a lot of help on both sides, on both sides. Most of us, though, honestly, most of us sit somewhere in the middle of that. Things are off for sure. Yeah, Spartacus. Yeah, things are off. Things are off. Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, I think that this is just the natural culmination. It was just this was inevitable. Inevitable. Inevitable based on the direction of our lives. It's the natural progression that has to happen. And we're going to get through it. We're going to get through it and something new will come out and we'll have a new challenge. I do think it's existential for our democracy and our society as we know it, freedom in America. I do think it is existential for that. Absolutely. But I just want again that the point of this point of this all is that to remember none of us is born into hate, into dehumanization, into domination, into fear, into uh what's the word? The fear, I guess, is just the best word, right? Also, none of us is born into feeling less than. That's taught. It's taught in the family systems. It's taught in schools. Trauma. All those things is taught, and it builds the layers. And then we all, as humans, become what we are. But we can change too. I do believe that we can change. Yeah. So what I'm trying not to do is excuse the harm. I'm not trying to soften demand for accountability. But I do want to say that, in my opinion, Cruelty is not strength. Cruelty is not strength. And right now we're experiencing and seeing some cruelty that is posing as strength, in my opinion. But it all comes from fear. We got through Rodney King. We've been through so many things, Sully. So many things. I mean, you want to talk about Rodney King. You want to talk about 9/11. You want to talk about, I mean, just it's constant. And there will be something else. There will be something next. There's never not been something. There will always be something. But the question is how, for me, and the purpose for me is how do we get through it together, whatever it is. So much of things are out of our control. How do we focus on what's going on in our world, in our circle, what we are giving back to the world, whether it's digitally or in our families or at our jobs or what we're doing? How are we doing that? What impact are we having? In what direction are we leading the world? I'm choosing kindness. I'm choosing to recognize that we are humans on both sides of the world. I'm choosing to be curious about the opinions in both sides, if you want to call it both sides, whatever the case may be. But I'm choosing that rather than panic, rather than outrage, for sure. Sure, I can be outraged inside, be angry inside, but also still recognize the humanity that's out there. And that we've come here, we've gotten to this point together, apart together, but together. There is a power greater than us that needs to be recognized, Mom. Absolutely. No question about it. No question about it. And some people would give themselves up to that power, let their ego go, and recognize that we are all in this together, made of the same cosmic stuff, the same spiritual stuff, whatever you want to call it. That's, I think, the key that unlocks kindness, right? So we're winding down. These are the 5 things. I did write 5 things because I like to have a little bit of structure that are my bearings in this time of uncertainty. Empathy. I'm leading with humanity before politics. Everything I do looks at how is this impacting the people, the individuals. Accountability. I want transparency before power. Show us the files. Show us. Take time to review things before making judgments. That's what I want. Civic courage, participation before polarization, being able to have the dialogue, being able to, obviously, First Amendment rights. Dignity, that absolutely. How about we just try to focus on lifting people up? And lastly, community. Let's have some care even before we have certainty. Let's just take a moment to realize that we are all in this together and that we are all terminal cases. And if we're going to make it through this moment, whether it's in Minneapolis, immigration policy, changes in our democratic society, normalization of authoritarianism and use of force, if that's the direction we're going to need some soft power that isn't actually soft at all. We need discernment, emotional literacy, trust, civic kindness, and just some human decency. Authoritarianism, that thrives on fear. Democracy thrives on dignity, and dignity is right downstream from kindness. I hope everybody has a wonderful day. Dig yourself out of the snow. Take good care of yourself. And as always, stay uncommon and stay kind.
Okay, Matt, we got the memo about the Kindness Rising promo, but what exactly are we promising people?
And is there craft services? Hey, I need snacks too.
Gentlemen, focus. Kindness Rising multiplies kindness and helps people get up on the right side of the bed.
So wait, we're not doing another angry headline show.
Exactly. We rise above the negative, divisive noise.
Translation, less rage bait, more high fives for humanity. And this is live, like actually live.
Yep. We go live on YouTube and LinkedIn, 7:30 a.m. Eastern every weekday.
Wait, if it's live, what if I forget my lines?
Then you improvise.
Okay, so our tagline is basically wake up, tune in, and start your day with kindness.
Exactly. Kindness Rising. Good vibes, practical tips, and a reason to get up on the right side of the bed.
You heard the boss. Subscribe now before he makes us do a TikTok dance.
Kindness Rising. Wake up, tune in, and let's make some good noise.